Greetings, Champ Car. Welcome to 2022, and welcome to your virtual drivers meeting for the 2022 Road Atlanta race. I'm sitting here, even as I'm saying that, struggling to wrap my mind around the fact that it's already time to start the 2022 season. It feels like we just wrapped up the 2021 season, probably because we did. So with that in mind, welcome to your TireRack.com Champ Car Endurance Series drivers meeting. As always, we'll start off thanking our sponsors, including, as I read them right off the paper here so I get them right, Frozen Rotors, Racing Radios, Lifeline Fire Suppression, RVA Graphics and Wraps, Bell Racing, the official helmet of Champ Car, UUC Motorworks, and NLA Parts. We'd also like to thank the Chandler School, who's back on board with us again this year to sponsor our Sportsmanship Award. Love those guys. Happy to have them. They should be at the Road Atlanta race. So if you see them and the kids running around, make sure you check in with them and say hi. And of course, our class sponsors, Discovery Parts, MoneyShiftRacing.com, and Krispy Kreme, who will be back again with us this year with some treats and goodies and M&M's jars and all kinds of good stuff from them. So again, huge thank you to our sponsors. We've got a few more people that we're talking to this year that may also come on board with us. Happy to have them. We're also going to try to get some of the sponsors to the track more often and kind of recognize them. We've got some interesting things in store for you this year on that front. So when you see the folks that support our organization, make sure you take some time out to thank them and check out their products and whatnot, see what makes them interested in Champ Car in the first place. So, okay, moving on with that. Road Atlanta is always kind of an interesting race because we have so many things going on there. So I'm going to kind of blow through a few race-specific things first, and then we'll get into some of the timing and the operations for the days, especially on load-in and whatnot. So on to the race itself, a couple safety things. It's a good time to hit the reminder for everybody. Pit lane. First, pit lane, 20 miles an hour. Last year, I made all Champ Car races 20 miles an hour on pit lane, every race, everywhere we go. It's just a lot easier for everybody to remember. It's a lot easier for me to remember. And it really just kind of makes things safer on pit lane. So remember, wherever you go throughout a Champ Car race, your speed limit on pit lane is 20 miles an hour. Everybody stops at pit in. Everybody stops at pit out. Stop at pit in, get a timer on the car. Stop at pit out. They'll take the timer off the car and check for your 5 minutes. They'll check to make sure you have your driver's wristband on. Please make sure you have the correct driver's wristband on. They will check and make sure you have the safety sticker on your helmet, meaning that your safety gear has been inspected. More about that because we are going to change the way we do that this year. But right now, we're still using the gear check stickers on the helmet. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes here as we get along. But everybody stops at pit in. Everybody stops at pit out. Fueling. If you're taking fuel, and that means from the moment the gas cap comes off to the moment the gas cap goes back on and all the Bernie bits are back over on the cold side of the wall, everybody must be in full gear. Socks, suit, gloves, balaclava if you have facial hair, full-faced helmet with the visor down. You're allowed 5 people over the wall, 1 person handling fuel jugs, 1 5-gallon fuel jug over the wall at a time, 1 person handling the fire extinguisher. Remember to have a 3-inch hard-sided drip pan under the point where you're doing fueling to catch any spills. You're allowed the driver in the car, the driver out of the car, and 1 assistant. Those are your 5 people. Those are the only jobs you're allowed to do. And while you're fueling, that's the only thing you can do is fuel the car and change the driver. You can't service the car. You can't check tire pressures. You can't tug on fenders. You can't change camera batteries. You can't wipe the windshield. For the time that you're fueling the car, I want your sole attention on doing nothing else other than fueling the car and changing the driver. Once the gas cap goes on and all the Bernie stuff goes back over the wall, then you can handle your pit stop as per usual. If a lot of this stuff sounds like I'm blowing by quickly, then you might need to come to our new to Champ Car meeting. Our new to Champ Car drivers meeting will be Friday afternoon. Specific times and places are contained in the supplemental rules, so make sure you check those out. Also, there's a video version of it. The video version is a couple years old now because we filmed it a few years ago, but it's a much deeper dive into how we officiate the race, how we manage pit lane. So if it sounds like I'm blowing by some of this stuff quickly, please take a minute. In the email that this video came in, there will be a link to our forum. There's a page there for the new to Champ Car driver meeting. Click on that. It's a couple minute long video. Probably a good idea to watch it with your entire team, especially if you have a new driver on the team. If it's been a while, you haven't raced with Champ Car in a little bit, it's a good refresher, a little bit deeper dive. So we're not going into too many details here. We'll talk some more about this kind of stuff Saturday morning before we start the race. So moving on to the event of the race itself, remember that we go green on time. Our scheduled time is at 8, so be prepared to roll off pit lane about 7:45 for an 8 o'clock green start. We will run nonstop until 10 p.m. If my public education is right, for 14 hours. That should put us at 10 p.m. Sure, Paulie's looking at me like I might be right. So yeah, 10 p.m. This year, we're going to make it all the way to 10 p.m., right? We've looked at the weather, and it's going to be cold, but it's supposed to be clear. What are the odds that it's going to snow 3 years in a row in Atlanta, Georgia? I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, Paulie's giving me the it'll be fine thing too. So anyway, I know I'm making light of it, but remember that we run straight through, no stoppages for a 14-hour race. Moving on, like I said, to some details about load in and registration. Remember that we open tech and registration Thursday. I think we have it scheduled for 6 p.m. We're open for a couple of hours. It's either 5 or 6 p.m. I probably should look at that. Oh, look, I have the subs open right here on the page. Bill finally did something useful for me. 875. Yes, tech and registration. I love poking fun at Bill. Tech and registration open at 6, and we run till 10 p.m. on Thursday. So if you're able to get there Thursday, you can get a little bit of a head start on tech and registration, get your car moved through. If you're arriving on Friday, that's fine. Tech and registration will be open all day long on Friday for the specific times. Make sure you check the SUPs. See what I did there? Check the SUPs. It's always a good idea to check the SUPs for these details. But tech and registration will be open all day on Friday. Here's the deal, though. We run a practice session on Friday, and you're welcome for that. I know you guys are looking for an opportunity to run your car a little more, so we will be running a practice session on Friday. For those of you that have run it before, it'll be just like we've done in the past. If this is your first time running with us, we will run sessions, probably an hour or so at a time, but there will be some downtime in between the sessions just to kind of slow things down and remind you guys that it is not a race. There is not a race on Friday. It is a practice session. There will be controlled passing. We will allow some opportunities later in the day when passing will be opened up. But there'll be more information on that at the driver's meeting Friday morning. We will have a driver's meeting before the practice session, but there will be some opportunities for open passing later in the day. But at least until lunchtime, we're going to leave it with point bypassing only in the straightaways. Again, it's a practice session, not a race. The reason I want to drill down on this a little bit is to remind you that you need to get your car through tech inspection, your team through registration, and each of your drivers have got to get their 2022 gear check stickers on their helmets. Yes, you can go out and run the morning practice before you run your car through tech and before you get your gear checked, but you need to make sure you get it done during the day. I know you guys want to run the practice session, and that's fine, but carve out the time to make sure you get your car through tech and your team registered. About tech, remember, we are doing electronic tech forms now. Most of you have done this last year. It's really sped things up. But the more this you do on the front end, the easier it is on the back end. If you remember last year at Road Atlanta, we rolled it out for the very first time, and it worked well. We had a few bugs, but we've got it really sorted out now. The key thing to remember is that team captains, you need to get your electronic tech forms submitted before you get to the track. You can do it at the track if you've got Wi-Fi signal or however you do it, but you need to get it done before you roll through the tech line. When you come through tech, the tech inspectors will not look over your tech form for car VPI value or your total points values. That is up to you to get the most recent numbers for your car and the most recent numbers for the equipment on your car. We did change a few things this year. We lowered some points on some stuff. We've changed some of the VPIs on the cars. Make sure you check your form and make sure your numbers are right. When you roll through tech, the tech inspectors will only check the required safety equipment on your car to ensure that it complies with ChampCar's rules. Then they will put your 2022 annual tech sticker on the car and send you down the road. It dramatically speeds up the time that it takes everyone to get through tech. But remember, if you're fortunate enough to win the race or wind up at impound, you're going to want to make sure that your tech form is filled out accurately. So if you've done it already this year, take another look at it. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you go in and fill that tech form out and get it submitted. If you get in the tech line and that tech form is not completely filled out and submitted, the tech inspectors will just turn you out of line, tell you to get your tech form done, and then you can rejoin the line again. Again, this is to make the process go faster. There's a lot of cars coming, and it's the first race of the year, so everybody needs an annual tech. So we really tried to speed this process up. It works really well when it's done right, but it starts with you guys getting your tech forms filled out properly and properly submitted into the system, okay? So make sure you get that done, and it'll speed things up. Drivers, you can get your gear checked anytime Thursday and Friday. We are going to move to an online self-check system yet, but we still have not got the details sorted out to make the tech system, the gear check system, work properly with our ChampCar registration system. So we are still using the gear check stickers. As soon as we get the last couple details sorted out, we'll roll the self-check thing, and we'll push more information about that later in the year. But for now, make sure you get your gear over to gear check and get your check stickers on your helmets as per usual. Glancing down at my notes here to make sure I don't forget anything. Flagtronics. Flagtronics will be there. We will be using Flagtronics. Flagtronics is not mandatory this year. Or, I'm sorry, not yet this year. Let me get that right. It's not mandatory yet this year, but it will become mandatory at some point in 2022. The key thing is when we get enough units that we can make sure we can guarantee that we can put one in every single car without missing anybody, that's when we'll make the system mandatory. But it will be there. They are still free to use. Doesn't cost you anything to pick a unit up and put it in your car. If you haven't used it yet, you really need to start getting used to it. Ask the people who are using it. They are absolutely magnificent. The fact that you can get your flag control signals immediately sent right to the driver, right in front of their face. A key thing is make sure you mount it somewhere up right in the driver's vision. Don't mount it down over in the corner or over by the pillars or something. It's got to be right up in the middle of like the gauge cluster somewhere where it's in the driver's face. So when the flag condition changes, they can see it right away. It really is just a couple pieces of Velcro and a plug for either a USB port or a cigarette lighter. That's all it takes to run the unit. A couple pieces of Velcro and a few zip ties, and you are good to go. I'll talk more about the Flagtronics unit at the driver's meeting, but a key thing I want to stress here, it has happened once or twice, and usually the overlap is only a couple of seconds, but it is possible in an instant for what you see on the Flagtronics unit to be different than what you see in the physical flag station. For example, you might see the yellow displayed on your Flagtronics unit, and the corner worker has not yet picked up his or her flag, or the corner worker has their flag out and the Flagtronics unit has not kicked over to yellow yet. It is possible for there to be maybe a second and a half long delay between the two, depending upon whether they pull the flag first or press the button first. The key thing is there, I want you to default to the safest condition. If you see a physical flag in the corner station, assume you're under yellow conditions. If you see yellow in the Flagtronics unit in front of you, assume you're under yellow flag conditions. Default to the safer of the two conditions. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that at the driver's meeting on Saturday morning, but I just want to get that out there now so that you guys are fully aware that, you know, we're tracking that thing. It is a fantastic unit. I'm telling you, if you haven't used it yet, you're going to love it. And it will become mandatory this year, so you might as well go ahead and pick one up and start getting used to using it. That's it. That's really all I can think about at the moment. Paulie's giving me the nod. Haven't done one of these now in like a month and a half, so I feel like I'm losing my touch here, you know. So and probably after we click off on this thing, I'll think of 3 or 4 things that I forgot to mention. But really, this is about the load-in. It's about the practice day, about making sure you guys know what the times are and whatnot. Again, please make sure you carve out time to get your car through tech and registration. Enjoy the practice day, have fun with it, but don't miss tech and registration. Paulie's given me the V symbol.
Two things come to mind, Dana. As we're just getting ready to race our cars for the first time in a long time, check your fire suppression system bottles, your pressures, and check your fire bottle pressures too. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, when we say have the fire extinguisher over the wall for your pit stop, it needs to be charged and ready to go, pin pulled, ready to go. So cast a glance at that needle, make sure it's not down in the red. Same thing with your onboard fire suppression. There's a couple different kinds. Some have an actual gauge on them that show you whether they're pressurized. Others need to be weighed, right? So our tech inspectors will pull the bottle out for you and weigh it. But if it's empty, then you got to figure out what to do with it. So you might want to get it checked before you get to the track. On that note, our friends from Discovery Parts are going to be there with their rig. They're always able to service several pieces of equipment or at least be able to sell you a new unit. But buying a new unit at the track or something like that and then trying to toss it in overnight is always problematic. So it will behoove you to check that kind of stuff beforehand before you get to the track. And apparently this is not the V symbol. This was probably saying cut. So now I know that. See, I learned something new. Even I learn something new every day. So, all right, Paulie, one more shot. Anything else we need to cover?
What's your policy on coolant for the engines when it's cold out, like it's coming up to this weekend?
If you check the rules, we allow a percentage of it. It should be posted in the supplemental rules. I think it's 10% water wetter or antifreeze coolant in the systems. But again, we want predominantly water in the thing. If you've ever been a track worker trying to clean up a spill from 3 or 4 gallons of radiator fluid on the racetrack, yeah, it's not fun. So this is part about us being able to get back to racing as soon as possible and not having the track down for hours because we have to do a lengthy cleanup because of stuff. So, all right. That's all we can think of now, guys. Please enjoy the race. We appreciate you guys racing with us. Down season's over, and we're looking forward to a really, really great season this year. We got a couple of new tracks coming up, new events. So please check the schedule. We look forward to seeing you guys racing out there, and thanks. See you soon.